Hello and welcome to the fourth part of my first fabric rose tutorial, where we are going to assemble the rose flower. Here is the rose heart, which I have made with cotton wool, and I have my petals here, two which are going to go straight onto the rose heart, 3 pairs and 6 individual petals. We'll start with these two inner petals. I'm covering them with the glue. I'm going to be quite generous and apply the glue quite high. For this purpose, you can take the petals which you don't really like. Maybe the shaping wasn't very good, or you didn't like them for some other reason, or if you colored them, the coloring wasn't nice, because they would not really be seen. They would be the first ones to go onto the rose heart. The main thing to remember here is that we need to glue the first petal in that way so that nobody can see the cotton wool heart. So you can twist the top part of the petal a little bit to make sure it's really glued well. The second petal is going to go opposite of the first one, and I'm also applying the glue quite high on this one, as you can see. So simply put it on. Just remember to place it slightly higher than the first petal, just a millimeter or half a millimeter. It should be visually a little bit higher than the very first petal we've glued. If you need a little bit of glue on the sides, add some more. The sides should also be glued securely. As for the little tails at the bottom, just squash them in and glue them onto the base of the rose, like this. So this is the rosebud after we've glued the very first 2 petals onto it. The next stage is to attach 3 pairs of petals onto the rosebud, and they will go, say, 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, around the flower middle, like this. Now I'm going to apply the glue on all the 3 petals, all the 3 pairs of petals here. Maybe not as high as I've done for the very first 2, because the rose is going to slowly open up, very slowly, but it is opening. So here I'm attaching the first pair. Again, it is slightly higher than the previous 2 petals by half a millimeter. I'm adding a bit more glue to attach the sides of the petal. The rose petals are going very tightly at the moment, attached very tightly to one another. So it's like a very dense rosebud. After I've done the first one, I'm going to attach the second one in the same way. Again, either the same height or a little bit higher, but definitely not lower. This is going to be a mistake if the petal is attached lower. Because if you look at the real rosebud, you will see that the very central petals are the lowest. And the last pair of petals is going onto the rosebud. So here is the rose with 3 pairs of petals attached. That's how it's going to look. Now let's have a look at the bottom. Denim is quite a dense fabric, so to avoid the bulk, I'm going to cut off some of the tails. And then the rest I'm going to press into the base and attach them to the rose. If it was silk, I wouldn't have cut off anything, because silk is much thinner. But for denim, it's probably advisable to cut off some of the fabric. Well, the next stage is to glue 6 individual petals, which are going to come in 2 portions of 3 petals. And because the rosebud has grown after we've glued some petals onto it, I'm stretching these last 6 petals a little bit, so they're a bit wider, and this will make them sit better on the rosebud. The next row is going in between the previous row, so basically we are covering the areas where the previous petals have joined together, and then the same goes for the other 3 petals. They are going to cover the joining areas of the previous row of petals, like you can see in the video. So this is roughly how the rosebud is going to look. We're also remembering about the height of the petals, so they're either the same height or slightly higher than the previous row. I'm going to apply the glue onto the next 3 petals. Again, probably not as high as with the previous pairs of petals, because as I've mentioned, and you can see for yourself, the rose is opening up a bit, becoming a bit looser on top, at the top. And then simply attach the petals onto the rose. If sides require a bit more glue, do add some glue there. If the tails need a bit more glue, add some more glue onto them, and then just press them into the base of the rosebud, like this. So here is the rose with all but 3 last petals attached, and now we're going to glue the last 3 ones. As I said before, they're going to go onto the areas where the previous petals have joined together, to cover those areas up. and make the rosebud look neat. And remember about the height. Press the little tails of the petals again into the base of the rose to glue them. And making sure that the sides are also attached. And so here is the rose flower, the rosebud flower, ready. Congratulations.